you're a Bills fan and you sat through that preseason matchup against the Bears, you probably had more questions than answers after the final whistle. But now, after digging into the all-22 coaches film, we can start connecting the dots. And trust me, some of what I saw on tape was eye-opening. Not just the scoreline, not just the big plays. This is about the details, the breakdowns, the flashes of hope, and the things that simply can't happen again once the games start to count. Let's not sugarcoat anything. The Bills' defense looked like a unit that had barely met before kickoff. Communication issues were all over the place, guys pointing, shifting, reacting instead of anticipating. When you're watching a defense try to rotate coverage post-snap, and it looks like everyone's on a different page, that's a red flag. It wasn't just confusion, it was dysfunction. And yes, it's preseason, but that doesn't mean we ignore the chaos. Because chaos, even in August, tells us who understands a system and who doesn't. Take those coverage busts, for example. Caleb Williams didn't exactly have to be a magician to move the ball. The windows were wide, the rotations were loose, and players were consistently arriving late or missing assignments entirely. There were stretches where it was hard to even tell what coverage the Bills were trying to run because so many guys were simply out of position. That's not about scheme. That's about trust and execution. And what this game revealed is that there are players on the fringe of this roster who just aren't ready to handle NFL responsibilities on defense. And the coaching staff now has the evidence on tape to sort through who can be relied upon and who can't. And it wasn't just the pass defense that crumbled. The Bills got absolutely cooked on the edges by crack blocks, one of the most fundamental run game elements a defense has to prepare for. If you're a defender and you don't recognize the crack call, don't communicate it, and don't replace correctly, you're done. And that's exactly what happened, repeatedly. Baltimore's licking their chops watching this film. So is Miami. These are teams that will hammer that edge weakness until it gets fixed. Now, granted, most of the guys out there likely won't see the field in week 1. But that doesn't excuse the lack of awareness and the missed responsibilities. This wasn't just about physical mistakes. This was mental. And that's the kind of stuff that loses football games. It's not all doom and gloom, though. If there's one player who just keeps showing up, every game, every snap, it's Tyrell Shavers. And it's not just a box score. Sure, he had 2 catches for 29 yards, but when you dive into the tape, you see a route runner with nuance, precision, and confidence. The back shoulder catch? Textbook adjustment. That wasn't separation. That was timing, awareness, and body control. Then you've got the comeback route he ran. Multiple breaks created space and gave the quarterback a clean, reliable option. These are the kind of reps that translate on Sundays. And I can't stop thinking about what that looks like with Josh Allen delivering the football. Shavers has the size, the hands, the catch radius, and he's flashing the kind of versatility that coaches love. He's not just an outside guy. He can block, he can move inside, and he's clearly earning trust. He's making a real case for a roster spot, and he deserves to be in the mix. Now let's talk about the backfield. Frank Gore Jr., physical, decisive, and smart. 51 rushing yards with 44 coming after contact. That tells you everything you need to know. He's not a burner. He's not flashy, but he knows how to find daylight. He knows how to finish runs, and he understands how to get skinny in tight spaces. You watch him run, and you see a guy who isn't wasting movement. There's clarity in how he operates, even when the play breaks down. Add in some very solid pass protection reps, and you've got a guy who looks like he belongs. He might not crack the top 3 running backs on the depth chart, but if he ends up on the practice squad and gets called up due to injury, I wouldn't blink. He's got instincts you can't teach. Then there's Michael Hoy. I'm telling you right now, I'm falling hard for the way this guy plays. He's violent, disciplined, and explosive. Against Chicago, he lined up across from tight ends and straight up bullied them in the run game. Setting edges, shedding blocks, collapsing running lanes. This is what you want from a strong side defender. And when he got his chance to rush the passer, he didn't just win, he punished. His sack wasn't some finesse move. He ran right through a tight end, absorbed a chip from a running back, and still got home. That's pure power and relentless effort. This dude looks like a playoff weapon. And while he might not be ready for week 1, come December or January, I can see him playing a crucial role in run-heavy matchups. Another player who's catching my eye is Jordan Hancock. He's lining up at safety, and while his coverage work has been solid, what really jumps off the tape is his ability to trigger downhill and make plays in the run game. Early in the game, you could tell he hesitated, maybe a little late to trust what he saw. But after a physical downhill tackle on a safety blitz, something clicked. From that point on, he was aggressive, timely, and made a big-time goal line stop by staying patient and controlling his gap. That's growth. That's awareness. He's showing traits that translate, and I'm keeping an eye on how he develops over these next couple of weeks. Now let's talk linebackers, because Jimmy Sharlow is making some noise. Signed out of Army just a week ago, and already flashing like he's been in the system all summer. He popped last week. He popped again this week. The energy, the urgency, the physicality, it's all there. He's not just running around. He's in the right spots, playing with discipline and flying to the football. On special teams, he's been a missile. And in coverage and pursuit, he's looked confident and aggressive. It's not often that a guy signs this late and makes a legitimate case for a roster spot, but Sharlow is doing everything he can. Right now, I think he's outplaying other depth linebackers, and even if he doesn't crack the final 53, he's making a case to stick around on the practice squad and be one call away. We got to mention Landon Jackson as well. He wasn't dominant, but this was a step forward. Last week he looked overwhelmed. This week, the game slowed down, and you could see him trusting his technique. He used his length better, didn't run himself out of run fits, and even flashed some pass rush moves, a cross chop, a bull rush that almost got him home. That's development. He's not there yet, but this is progress, and that's what preseason is for. Dorian Williams is another guy whose role could quietly expand this season. His blitzing ability is real. He plays with reckless abandon, blowing up running backs, converting speed to power, and causing disruption. There are still some moments where misdirection got the best of him, but that's to be expected. What matters is the violence and urgency he brings. With how much the Bills are blitzing in this new-look defense, way more aggressive than the soft zones we're used to, guys like Dorian become situational weapons. Whether it's goal line defense, spying mobile quarterbacks, or just adding an extra rusher on third downs, he gives them a new wrinkle. Cole Bishop? Look, the guy has barely practiced, and it showed. He had moments where you could see the athleticism, the instincts, and the range, but then there's the missed tackle on DJ Moore and that blown coverage on the touchdown to Lamade Zaccheaus. That play had 3 different breakdowns, and Bishop was one of them. Overplaying the outside leverage, expecting inside, help that never came. But he's young, he's rusty, and this is exactly what preseason is for. He's got to clean it up, but you can still see the tools. There's more to cover. Mike White, the backup trenches, late-game personnel surprises. But for now, these are the key takeaways from the tape that matter. This game was ugly, no doubt about it. But within that mess, we're starting to see who's ready, who's rising, and who's running out of time. Let's keep peeling this thing back because the tape doesn't lie. And the second half of the All-22 gave us just as many talking points, if not more. We're going to dig into quarterback play, how these young defensive tackles are stacking up, the late-game lineup decisions that speak louder than press conferences, and where the biggest positional questions still remain. Starting with Mike White, this was not a performance that's going to change anyone's mind about the backup quarterback job. What the film confirmed is what you probably felt watching live. The margin for error with White is razor thin. Everything he does has to be on schedule, clean pocket, first read, throw with rhythm. And when those conditions exist, he can operate the offense at a baseline level. He throws a catchable ball, understands concepts, and has good timing. But the moment things break down, he has very little to offer. His mobility is limited, and he lacks the arm strength to muscle a ball into tight windows if his platform isn't perfect. That's just the reality. And it's not just about throwing under pressure. It's how he reacts when things go sideways. When he gets hit, it's not graceful. He folds. The pocket collapses. He doesn't have the twitch or escapability to reset and make something happen. And if the route he wants isn't there, he doesn't manipulate defenders with his eyes or by extra time. It's static. And that's not what this offense is built for. When you think about what Josh Allen brings, that second reaction ability, the unpredictability, the way broken plays become chunk plays. Mike White is the exact opposite. So, in a battle for the QB2 job, it's hard to see him beating out someone like Mitchell Trubisky, who at least offers mobility, experience, and the ability to play off script when needed. Now let's flip it to the trenches and focus on the young defensive tackles, because this group is fascinating. Starting with TJ Sanders. Man, the flashes are real. The athleticism, the way he gets off the ball, how he plays behind his hands, it all jumps off the screen. Against single blocks, he's a problem. There's bend, flexibility, and violent hands. But you also see the downside. When the double teams come, he struggles to anchor. You see him get moved out of his gap or end up on the ground trying to drop his weight and disrupt. The effort is there, the motor is there, but the power base isn't quite developed yet to hold his ground against 600 pounds of blockers. That's not surprising given his frame and style, but it's something that's going to matter when the Real bullets start flying in the regular season. Deone Walker is a little different. This guy has ridiculous upper body power. He can ragdoll guards and pass rush situations, and you saw some real flashes of that against Chicago. He knows how to use his leverage and length to collapse pockets. But where he disappointed this week was against the run. On several snaps, you saw him lose leverage, get too high, and allow himself to be moved off the ball. For a guy his size, that can't happen. He's got to anchor and clog gaps. And while the pass rush upside is encouraging, consistency against the run is what's going to decide whether he can crack the rotation or not. Then there's Dwayne Carter. This one's tough because the tape just doesn't give you anything to get excited about. He's consistently getting pushed around. There's not enough penetration, not enough stoutness at the point of attack, and not enough disruption. And perhaps most telling, he was still on the field late in the fourth quarter. That's never a good sign for a third-round pick in his second year. If the coaching staff was evaluating him as a real contributor, he'd be getting those early reps. Instead, he's running with the deep reserves, and the production is matching that status. Right now, it's hard to argue that he's anything more than defensive tackle 6. If Larry Ogunjobi is healthy, Carter's spot might be in real danger. And when you start stacking his tape against someone like Zion Logue, the conversation gets uncomfortable. Because Logue is making plays, while Carter is getting buried. Let's talk tight ends for a second. The snap counts, and who gets on the field first always tell you something. And it was very noticeable that Lou got reps before Zach Davidson. That's not a small thing. Davidson's had a brutal preseason, multiple drops last week, and this week 2 awful penalties that were completely avoidable. It's one thing to struggle physically, but when the mental side starts slipping, your rope gets real short. And the fact that Lou, an undrafted rookie, is getting game reps earlier than him tells you where the staff's confidence is trending. Davidson might be playing himself off the practice squad, not just the main roster. Shifting to the offensive line, Jordan Jackson had a very small workload, but made it count. In his 6 or so snaps, he consistently won at the point of attack as a play-side run blocker. You want to see guys move bodies and create lanes in those limited opportunities, and he did exactly that. It's not flashy, but it's functional. The kind of performance that earns another look, especially in a room where depth is still sorting itself out. Now, Case Lunt, this one's fascinating. Against the Giants, he played right guard and left tackle. This week, he played left guard and right tackle. That's 4 different spots in 2 weeks. The Bills are clearly testing his versatility. They want to know if he's a true swing lineman or just a placeholder. And while it's exciting that he's getting these chances, the performance dipped a little this week. His pass protection, particularly on the edges, looked more vulnerable. His footwork got him into trouble, and speed rushers were able to flatten on him a little too easily. He didn't look quite as comfortable at right tackle as he did inside. But again, this is the kind of player you keep investing reps in, because if he can stabilize at any of those positions, he becomes a key depth piece. The raw tools are there. Now it's about refinement. And make no mistake, time is running out. Final cuts are coming. The last preseason game is around the corner. And then, it's week 1. So for everyone on the bubble, this next week isn't just important. It's everything. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers and speculations are already sweeping through the halls of the NFL community as CeeDee Lamb's name has become the center of what some insiders are calling the largest acquisition in Buffalo Bills history. Rumors suggest that the front office has made a move so audacious that it could redefine the very perception of the franchise in the eyes of fans and competitors alike. Sources close to the organization have hinted at discussions that began months ago, veiled under layers of secrecy and strategic ambiguity, and now it appears that every conversation in the league is being dominated by the mere prospect of Lamb donning the blue and red of Buffalo. Analysts are scrambling to evaluate what this could mean for both the offensive schemes of the Bills and the balance of power in the AFC. While no official statement has yet confirmed the deal, the sheer volume of speculation has created an atmosphere of feverish anticipation among supporters, fueling debates on social media, in sports bars, and within commentary panels across the nation. The narrative seems unstoppable. If Lamb indeed joins the Bills, the team might instantly rise from a respected contender to a potentially unstoppable force, capable of challenging dynasties that have long dominated the league. Every whisper, every insider tip, seems to amplify the stakes, suggesting that this could become the transaction that redefines the market for elite wide receivers. The implications of Lamb joining Buffalo extend far beyond just the statistics and highlight reels. They strike at the core of team identity and long-term strategic planning. Rumors circulating in circles close to the organization indicate that the front office is envisioning a seismic shift in offensive philosophy, one that capitalizes on Lamb's exceptional speed, route precision, and playmaking instinct. The murmurs suggest that playbooks could be rewritten, practice regimens adjusted, and draft priorities reconsidered, all with the singular goal of integrating a player whose impact might rival any previous acquisition in franchise history. Fans have begun to speculate not only about the immediate season, but about the ripple effects across multiple years, pondering how Lamb's presence might influence draft selections, salary cap allocations, and even coaching decisions. Meanwhile, opponents are reportedly preparing to strategize against a potential Buffalo offense that could become more unpredictable, dynamic, and devastating than ever before. Pundits are engaged in heated debates, weighing the potential benefits against the enormous financial and managerial commitments required to secure a player of Lamb's caliber. It is this tension between ambition and risk, between imagination and realism, that is keeping the rumor mill spinning at unprecedented velocity, suggesting that if confirmed, the deal would represent a masterstroke in NFL franchise management and cultural influence. The excitement generated by these rumors has taken on a life of its own, spilling into media outlets, podcasts, and fan forums where speculation often blurs with wishful thinking. Every small tip, every cryptic comment from sources close to the team, is dissected with meticulous attention, magnifying the sense of inevitability around Lamb's potential arrival in Buffalo. Sports journalists and analysts are cautiously navigating the line between reporting and conjecture. Yet even within these professional circles, the narrative is gaining momentum as if reality itself is being reshaped by collective expectation. There is talk of record-breaking merchandise sales, ticket demand surges, and fan engagement metrics that could redefine how the franchise interacts with its audience. Conversations in local bars and online threads often start with disbelief, but end in excitement, as the mere thought of Lamb catching passes for Buffalo's quarterback creates a vision of highlight reels, game-changing touchdowns, and a revitalized offensive identity. It's not just a transaction. It's a cultural phenomenon in progress, a swirling storm of possibilities and probabilities that has already begun influencing perceptions of the Bills before a single snap has been played. This bubbling mix of rumor, expectation, and potential impact fuels the perception that Buffalo is on the verge of a historic transformation that could reverberate across the league for years to come. Speculation has also extended into the realm of team dynamics, with insiders suggesting that Lamb's potential addition could alter locker room hierarchies and player relationships, in ways that are both thrilling and delicate. Teammates reportedly see Lamb as a generational talent whose presence could elevate performance standards across the roster, creating an environment of heightened accountability and competitive energy. At the same time, sources hint at careful deliberation by the coaching staff on how to balance Lamb's individual prowess with the collective harmony necessary for sustained success. Rumors indicate that strategic consultations, film sessions, and practice adjustments are already being discussed in preparation for what could become a high-octane offense built around Lamb's skills. Analysts note that integrating a player of such magnitude often comes with both extraordinary upside and considerable risk, as expectations rise to potentially unmanageable levels if early results do not match the hype. Yet, despite these caveats, the sheer intensity of conversation surrounding Buffalo's potential move demonstrates a consensus among insiders that the acquisition, if real, would represent a watershed moment for the franchise. The narrative is no longer confined to speculation. It has become a lens through which the Bills' future is imagined, analyzed, and debated, creating a unique tension between fantasy and reality that keeps both fans and critics captivated. Ultimately, the persistent rumors about CeeDee Lamb and the Buffalo Bills have evolved into a full-blown spectacle, one that merges on-field speculation with off-field intrigue to create a narrative rivaling the excitement of the most dramatic games in recent memory. Every media cycle now seems to circle back to the potential deal as analysts, insiders, and fans alike attempt to piece together clues from cryptic statements, unofficial sources, and market behavior. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.